This podcast is sponsored by nobody.
Hey dudes, this is Darlene Vogel, Spike, and Back to the Future Part 2, and you're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. What's the matter, Tommy? You got no scrote?
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming back the gorgeous, the talented Darlene Vogel, and we are going to nerd out on the entertainment of our youth, talking about film, television, and music from childhood. I know there's been a lot less nerd outs lately because everybody I want to nerd out with is busy. That's the reason why, and that's the only reason why. And I only got to do two nerd outs last month, but I swear I will be doing more this month in April. I promise. And I cannot wait today. I love Darlene. She is so awesome. She is positive. I love her energy. And she's passionate about animals, and it's going to be great to have her back on today. Also, rest in peace, Jay North, the original Dennis the Menace himself. I remember seeing his True Hollywood Story like 25 years ago, and I was amazed at how he survived so much in his life. Being a child actor isn't easy, and I've certainly talked to my share. Also, rest in peace, Clem Burke, the drummer for Blondie. Sad, sad, sad. We are losing so many talents. I'm a huge Blondie fan, and that's a huge tragedy. So, yeah, here is my new interview with Darlene Vogel. Hey, Darlene, welcome back. How are you today?
I'm great, Tommy. How are you?
I am fantastic. I mean, we're alive, and that's all that matters.
Live is always a good thing.
Yeah. Wow, last time we talked, the pandemic had just started, and look at what we've been through since.
Yeah, it's been a ride, that's for sure. I don't know if it's positive or the same or, that's been going on. I have to say, it just seems like the business has taken a downturn for sure. So that's just the way it is with this economy
Yeah.
and California not having any business going on.
Yeah, it's a little of all of those things, sadly. So going back in time, what was the first movie that impacted you as a child?
I remember one of the first movies I went to go see was Fantasia, and I
Oh,
actually did not like it, and I walked out. I must have been maybe 14. But most of the movies that impacted me, because every year, we would have Sound of Music and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and you know, movies like that, we only had seven channels or five channels growing up. So those are the movies that came on. And Born Free, I just remember those were some of my favorites, which you would probably not know, you know, Born Free, you probably don't even know any of them. Oh, of course, Sound of Music, but
of course.
those were the days. Wizard of Oz was another big one.
Oh yeah.
Those are all great ones that, just came out and we would all sit down as a family and watch them all.
Oh yeah. The Sound of Music. I love. The Wizard of Oz was the first old Hollywood movie that I fell in love with. Um, but the first movie that I feel like impacted me was Back to the Future.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. And on your other podcast, I heard that you didn't really like Back to the Future too.
Oh no, no, I did like it. It's just like there's so much I found wrong with it. Is what I was trying to say.
Really? Because I feel like when you see it, it seems like a lot of those things came true, which is very funny.
Yes.
But I mean, it was a very dark movie. Of course, the original was the best. It's hard to
Hmm.
follow up with the original, but I find that all three of them had good points and lots of fun and just, I mean, listen, who can write that? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
incredible writing.
Yeah, I felt in two there needed to be some minor corrections with like certain things when they recreated 1955 when they were reenacting certain scenes and everything. But other than that, I do like the sequels, but the original I just love.
Yeah, and that's a fan favorite. I know that. Sure.
Yeah, because I just always had that fantasy of going back in time and seeing my parents in high school,
I
and
know, right? Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah, that would have been fun.
they used to let me look at their yearbooks and stuff, and so it's always been a big part of my life that way. What movie
Uh-huh.
what movie genre did you gravitate toward the most growing up?
What movie genre? I guess, oh, let me see. It was never sci-fi. Like my brother was loved watching, Star Trek and all that kind of stuff, but it was never that. I guess it would just be just more drama, not as much comedy, which is very funny because a lot of the comedies that I watched maybe in my 20s, you watch them today and kids just don't get it. Like I showed my kids Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield and they didn't get it. They didn't get the humor. They didn't think it was funny. They thought Sam Kinison was mean. Why is he screaming? I'm like, oh my God, your generation is just so desensitized or too sensitive. I don't know what it is. But I think a lot of the humor from the movies back then are just lost on them.
Yes. Yeah, the younger generation they don't get that, and certainly they're not going to get anything that Sam said.
Right? I know. They thought it was mean, and I was like, it's comedy. We
Yeah,
just can't even do comedy anymore.
I know. It's
As far as TV shows, I mean, I watched a lot of TV. I didn't really go to I remember writing a letter to the editor when I was like 16
mhm.
complaining about the movie prices. I said, I'm 16 or maybe I was 15. And I said, I can't even get a job. I can't even pay for my own movies, and it's just, why are you charging us adult prices when we're not even adults? I remember complaining to the editor of the newspaper. It was so funny. But I didn't go to the movies all that much. I mean, I watched mostly television. Like,
Mhm.
Partridge Family, I Dream of Jeannie was my favorite,
Yeah.
things like that.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about television, but do you remember like when all the landmark horror movies were coming out and people were just terrified of them, like Texas
Oh,
Chainsaw
yeah.
Massacre and The Exorcist and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, exactly. I remember being at my friend, get ready for her name, Kathy Scazafava. I grew up with a lot of Italians.
Wow.
I went to Kathy Scazafava's living room. I walked through, and her parents just happened to have The Exorcist on there, and it was the time when she turned her head all the way around, and it freaked me out because I never really seen a horror movie like that.
Yeah.
And even my sister, who's like 6, 7 years older than me, and she was just so horrified by that movie that she had to sleep with the light on for like a year. But the movie that really affected me was When a Stranger Calls, because I used to be a babysitter all the time, and like to get that phone call, did you check the children? It was
Hmm.
so scary. That was like one of the scary movies that I remember.
Wow. Scazafaba. I'm gonna remember that beautiful Italian name.
Scazafava, Iannacone, Iapoluccio, Sapienza. Those are all the Italian names I grew up with.
Yeah, my grandmother's last name was Asaro, so it's nowhere as near as exotic as Scazafaba.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Everyone gets a kick out of that name. It's so funny.
Did you like Mel Brooks movies?
Did I like some of Mel Brooks movies? Yeah. Name some. I can't really remember. What are some of them
Bla- Blazing
that were
Sat, Blazing
popular back then?
Blazing Saddles, Young
Oh, Blazing
Frankenstein.
Saddles.
Yeah,
Yeah. Young Frankenstein. I loved. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. He was very funny.
Silent
Yeah.
Movie, High Anxiety, yeah, which was a Hitchcock parody. That was really funny.
Hmm.
Lots of
Speaking of
stuff.
Hitchcock, I loved Hitchcock movies as well. The Birds I loved,
Uh,
and I loved Rear Window. Those are some of my favorite. And then when I got
mhm.
older, my 20s, I would watch like Betty Davis movies. I love all those old movies like that.
Yeah, Vertigo is my favorite one. Because I know what it's like to want the girl I can't have. That's what the metaphor of that movie was. It was about how Hitchcock couldn't get Grace Kelly because she married the Prince of
Right,
Monaco. So
right,
Kim Novak was the manifestation of that.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Betty Davis, oh my God, she was like the first leading lady who wasn't attractive, you know?
Right? Yeah, with those big eyes and stuff. But I mean, yeah, I love now Voyager. I loved all those kind of old movies. I just love the elegance of them, the way they dress, and just the way they were. And the martini time, this share a cigarette type of thing. It was just so romantic.
Yeah, whatever happened to Baby Jane
We don't
and
have that anymore, though. I mean, a lot of our rom-coms now are just, I
hmm
don't know. I mean, maybe Love Actually and, things like that. Those are the fun rom-coms. But,
yeah.
today I think that that's fallen off like people don't really watch them as much anymore.
No, and if you find romantic comedies on Netflix, they're all made in Europe because
Yeah.
they're afraid of offending people with, the raunchy humor and stuff now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, well, I mean, but then when you look at shows like White Lotus and stuff like that, I just think that's all for shock value. I'm like,
Yeah.
really? I mean, when you watch some of the things or disclaimer and, the sex scenes are so, blatantly, it's just like, my God. I mean, now everything's about shock value and just crossing the line.
Yeah. It's it's crazy. Did you have any movie crushes?
Oh, let me think. I mean, well, it was more TV. Like I had David Cassidy on my and Bobby Sherman on
Yeah.
my wall.
Oh, you must be sad about Bobby Sherman.
What happened? I don't even know what happened to Bobby Sherman.
He just passed away.
Oh, did he? Oh, see, you're so good on all that stuff. I don't keep up on all that stuff. Did he? He used to be like didn't he retire from acting, become an ENT or something?
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, he was one of those guys who was like, really hot, and then that was it. He was gone.
Yeah, 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 yeah. He had his moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else? Let me think. Who are some crushes? I know, yeah, those were the only ones when I was young watching that. And then I just remember my early 20s when I moved to LA. I loved Pat Riley of the Lakers,
Oh my God.
the coach of the Lakers. I remember seeing him in Vegas once and I was like, oh my God, there's Pat Riley.
I heard he married a gorgeous woman.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me it was like Cary Grant, Natalie
Oh,
Wood,
yeah. Yes.
um, lots of 80s movie actresses that I've come to become friends with and interview on the podcast. Lots of them.
Like who? Like who are some of your favorite 80s actresses?
Like Catherine Mary Stewart. Let me think who else. Um, Diane Franklin. Um, God, Linnea Quigley. Um, yeah, like people like that. I mean, I used to watch Fame, and I had a huge crush on Valerie Landsberg. I haven't gotten an interview with her yet, but I'd like to.
Huh?
Yeah, so people
I
like that.
don't know. I mean, Mary Stuart, it's so funny. A lot of people thought that I look like Mary Stuart Masterson. And I thought, yeah.
Oh, Mary.
Like someone thought that was me and her and Back to the Future too. I was like, really? Do I look that much like her? But
Mary Stuart Masterson. Yeah, no, she wasn't in Back to the Future.
no, no. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But
Kath.
yeah, I mean, you're a big movie buff. You're a big TV buff. Just listening to yourself, you know so much about all that.
Yeah, yeah, no, Catherine Mary Stewart. She, was in the Last Starfighter and Night of the Comet and Weekend at Bernie's, stuff like that. And she's so tomboyishly, elegantly beautiful. That's the only way to put how beautiful she is.
Speaking of Weekend with Bernie's, that was my only kind of walk-on job.
Really?
I'm right in the beginning of that movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you see a girl with shorts on
Mm-hmm.
and walking an Irish setter, and then Jonathan Silverman, is that his name?
Yeah, Jonathan Silverman.
Yeah, he's washing. I think it's him, but somebody's why I can't remember. I haven't seen it in so long. You just brought it up that I forgot that I even did that. Um, Yeah, I'm walking by with a dog and he's spraying the thing and then he accidentally sprays somebody with it, watching me walk by. It was funny because I was just walking around the city that day and my manager called me, goes, Darlene, can you quick do this job today? And I'm like, yeah, sure, and he said, he goes, you have to walk a dog. I go, well, if they get me an Irish setter, I'll do it. And I was only joking,
Mhm.
because and they ended up giving me an Irish setter.
I remember there was a fire hydrant at the beginning of the movie because it's a really hot
You'll
day.
have to you'll have to watch the movie again and see and then watch the beginning.
Yeah, I mean that beginning like sets up the whole movie. You know, they're walking and this guy tries to rob them, and Andrew McCarthy's like, "Oh, get out of here! It's too hot."
Yeah,
It cracks me up every
it's
time I
funny.
see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go to the drive-in a lot growing up?
We did. We Not a lot. We did a few times. I don't really, yeah, I remember going. I remember listening to your last podcast. You guys talked about that, and I said, "Oh yeah, the drive-in."
Hmm.
Yeah, I did go, but that was probably when I was like 17, 18,
Hmm.
with my boyfriend Ralph Baldelli, an Italian.
God. Yeah, I mean my parents started taking me when I was 2, and then they stopped for a while and then went back to it. It's just like I always loved the drive-in, the nice like, cool breeze, in the summertime or even in the winter time, and just, watching the movie. I mean, yeah, the stereo wasn't always the greatest, those little speaker
No.
phones. Yeah, but towards the end, they had this thing where if you press in a code on your like car radio, you can hear it better. To be honest, I didn't see a difference.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
They have something like that here. It was at the Santa Monica airport. They did a whole drive-in type thing. But
Hmm.
you don't go, well, you kind of, it's just an outdoor movie thing. You get they have a lot of that here. But yeah, you don't find many drive-ins anymore. I think it's a great idea to bring back.
No, we got one like in San Jose, but that's about it. I haven't gone yet, but I want to. I want to find a movie that's worth going to see. You
Right.
know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the last movie that you've seen that you liked?
God, that's a hard one because most of the things I see, I'm not a big fan of and stuff. I've seen some great limited series on Netflix and Hulu. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like I saw Inventing Anna, I saw Baby Reindeer, which was
Yeah.
very close to home with me. I saw so much of myself in that character and stuff like that. But like every time I see a movie, I'm just more or less disappointed.
Right. Yeah, I know. When you see the Academy Award list, you're like, really? These are Academy Award movies?
Yeah. Barbie? Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw Barbie and I really hated it.
You know what's funny? I saw Barbie and I fell asleep in the theater. And then I watched it again with my sister and I thought, you know what? This was actually a really good movie because when you look at the visual, and I mean, for that director to have that visual sense, to
Hmm.
pull that off, and the actors to pull that off, and then the whole, like, story, when the premise of the story, you just go like, oh, okay. Now I actually really like this movie. I thought it was really brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling if I watched it again, I still wouldn't like it. I was less like, oh my God, that little like, shooting the guns and them running was just so cheesily done. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
if this was in the 90s, there would be bullets flying, there'd be blood, there'd be so much action that there needs to be in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be cheesy, but I mean, but right, Academy Award, you're like, really? I mean, where are the old time where's like a Sophie's Choice and those kind
Hmm.
of big blockbuster movies? We just don't have those anymore. And if they are, they're more like Marvel,
Yeah.
or just like Extraction, those big multi-million dollar movies that are just about violence and everything.
Yeah, it's a weird time, and it seems like the Academy is I don't know, a lot more. It's like the young Academy voters. They vote movies um, based on like whatever is culturally appropriate now. Whereas back in the day, the older generations of actors that were like voting Academy members, they knew the people involved in the movies, so they were going to give them nominations.
Right, right. Yeah. I don't really enjoy watching the Academy. Well, this year, actually, when you think about it,
Mhm.
with all the independent movies, it was nice to see independent movies, winning,
Yeah, that was nice.
without all the money. Yeah.
I did like that,
I
I
just
have to say.
finished, I mean, television wise, I just finished Adolescence last night. I'm just like, oh my God,
Hmm.
it was amazing. Have you watched that?
No, is it good?
Oh, well, what's good about it is that every episode is done in one take.
Oh wow.
There's no edits.
Wow.
Yeah, and the acting is just amazing. The kid had never acted before. It was his first acting role. It's only 14 years old. It was so good. And I
That
know that accent very well, the Scouse Liverpool accent, so it was really fun for me to listen to.
that's interesting. It's like they're doing guerrilla filmmaking for a series.
Well, yeah, but it took them lots of rehearsals,
Hmm.
lots. It was a lot of work, I'm sure.
So it's like a soap opera then.
No, I would not call it a soap opera. No, not at all. No, no, you got to watch it.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
So getting into television, like what sitcoms did you watch growing up?
Well, let me think. Well, I guess the ones that I was on, Full House,
Yeah,
Boy Meets World, those Coach, things like that.
yeah,
Three's Company, I used
oh
to
yeah.
watch. Uh, Let me think. I mean, and then earlier, of course, my favorite was, I don't know if it's, yeah, it would be considered a sitcom as I Dream of Jeannie. I just
Oh
wanted to be a genie so bad.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I love that show.
I love it too. And yeah, I mean, I started off with my family's generation of sitcoms. Munsters, Adam's Family, Get Smart, F
Yes.
Troop, Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
You know,
Leave It to Beaver, I loved. Yeah.
Gilligan's Island,
Yes. Oh, yes. That was my favorite too.
Beverly
I just
Hillbillies.
heard, I just heard Dennis the Menace just died.
Yeah. Oh my God. I saw his E True Hollywood Story like 25 years ago. I couldn't believe he was still alive because he had been through a lot. I mean, God, it's not easy being a child actor, and I've interviewed my share, and I've noticed a lot of them are just so fucked up in the head, a lot of them, sadly.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking about this kid in adolescence. I mean, his first role, and he has some anger scenes that I'm going, where is he bringing that from? And he's going to have all this fame, and let's see what happens to him in his 20s.
Yeah. Did you ever work with a former child actor that you can just tell that they had a hard life?
Let me think. I mean, I've worked with child actors, on set with them, and they all kind of grew up pretty well so far.
Hmm.
Chloe Grace Moretz played my daughter when she was 9, but she's been, she was booked for years after that. And let me think, I got to think about some of them that were not that I've worked with and not that I have met,
Hmm.
if I can remember. Like, who would you consider? Who are some of your thoughts on that?
Oh God, there's so many. I mean, we've seen the lives of people like, the two Coreys, Corey Haim, Corey
Yeah,
Feldman. We've
right.
seen, like, oh my God, I'm trying to think. I mean, so many. And then there's some who, they grow up okay, but some of them are not so great as people like Ricky Schroeder or um, I don't know. It just depends, I mean, it all has to do with what's going on in their home, pretty much, and whether or not they're being supervised or not, because there's been those documentaries coming out about the pedophilia in Hollywood, the Nickelodeon thing
Oh,
that came
right.
out, yeah. And the funny thing is with that documentary, like I have a feeling that Dan Schneider was definitely a bully to those kids, but I don't think he did the stuff that they say he did. I think Brian Peck definitely did because he's on the sex offendery list, and you really have to. There really has to be proof in order for you to get on that list. I really think he must have done it.
I'm shocked that the parents weren't, yeah, they weren't on it like, I mean, even like when you go back to the Michael Jackson stories and like these kids' parents allowing them to go stay overnight at Michael Jackson's house all the time, you
Yeah.
just go like, what? And he was
Yeah.
obsessed with these kids, and it's just a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids were never in the business, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, at this age, 17 and 22, you don't know what they're doing. They're always in their room. And I mean, that's another thing about this show, Adolescence. Like the kid's always in his room, he's always on the computer, and it's all talking about social media. Like kids have to deal with social media these days, and no kid
Yeah.
feels liked or self-esteem or any. That's what we're dealing with, the dangers of social media and teens and kids these days. It's just so sad. I'm so happy I grew up when I did and not with all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, when I first got AOL back in 99, I only had to deal with 2 years of having things restricted. And then once I turned 18, I could look at whatever I wanted on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I got lucky in that regard. But yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, I, mean,
Yeah.
I watched all the shows you were on, like Full House and Boy Meets World, and I'm glad you got to be a guest on their podcasts.
Yes. Yeah, it was very fun. Yeah. Dave Coulier, with Full House, and
Yeah.
that was in person, so that was nice. And then the cast of Boy Meets World. I mean, I have such fond memories of both those shows. I mean, Full House was funny that I would never think in a million years I would have gotten that role, but it was just, I'm happy I'm part of that history.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Pod Meets World podcast just ran into a controversy. I don't know if you heard. Um,
No.
the girl who was on towards the end that became a porn star, Maitland Ward, was on there, and for the first hour, everything was great. They were laughing, reminiscing, and then things got heated and hostile for the last half hour. They're
Oh, what happened?
they got into like kind of a cat fight of like who did what to who, why did so and so stop talking to so and so. I mean, it got heated. I listened to the whole thing, and the whole time I'm like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I'm listening to it, and the whole time I'm like, when are we going to get to the good stuff? And then it was an hour in, and yeah, I mean, and then things got civil again in the last few minutes, and then they had like a 2 minute recap of like, oh my God, what just happened? After that, yeah, it was on TMZ. That's how I initially found out about it because I missed
Oh,
the episode that week or whatever, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that they released that.
well, it brought a little controversy. It probably brought more fans to the podcast.
Probably did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't even know about that podcast until I was in Hawaii, and this girl said, "Oh, there's a podcast of Boy Meets World. You should reach out to them." And I was like, "Really?" I mean, I didn't even know there was a podcast, and so I did. I reached out to them. I said, "Hey, it's Darlene," or whatever. They go, "Oh my God, can you be on the show? We'd love to have you on the show." And then I guess the Full House people heard me on that, and that's how I got on the Full House one.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, Jodie Sweetin and Andrea Barber, they have a podcast too called How Rude Tanneritos, and I listen to it every week, and they have guest stars on all the time. I'm sure they'll reach out to you eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because, that was so many years ago. It's just the same with Back to the Future. It's the same with Pacific Blue. I mean, I don't remember. It's so funny when you do so many episodes of, like, say, Pacific Blue. I don't remember half the stuff I did. You look at these scenes and go, I
Hmm.
don't even remember shooting that scene. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
When they ask you, like all the Back to the Future people, they ask a lot of the same questions. I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, it was the
yeah,
first film that I did, and I just remember little snippets, but you know,
yeah,
it's not that I was so invested in Back to the Future, the original movie, that I'm such a huge fan of the trilogy. I love the trilogy. I think it's great and it's iconic. I'm so proud to be part of it. But I'm like, I really wasn't,
mm,
I don't I mean, even my friend, he said something about the flux capacitor. This is like 4
yeah,
years ago. And I go, what's that? He goes, what do you mean you don't know what that is? I go, I don't know. I'm not like a movie buff. I'm not like,
Yeah.
that's funny.
I forgot to mention, my parents took me to see part three at the drive-in on a school night, I remember. And it's funny. When I was a kid, I had such a short attention span for westerns that I didn't like it, but I've come to like it over time. Part three. My dad loved it from the get-go because my dad's a huge western guy.
Yeah, I did recently see it again because I remember trying to watch it and going, "Oh, this doesn't interest me." And then I really watched it and I loved it. I thought it was great. It is funny when you revisit things later on that you go,
Hmm.
I really do like this. It's really good.
Did your dad watch TV westerns?
No,
No.
no, my dad really didn't watch much TV. He did it because he worked all day. Then he came home, had dinner, had his couple martinis, and went to sleep. We'd have the TV on, we'd watch talk shows or things like that. And then he was very emotional. Like he couldn't watch movies or shows that had a sad thing because he'd have to walk out of the room.
Yeah, my dad.
But
My dad
yeah.
watched Bonanza. He used to call me his little Haas Cartwright all the time because I was a little fat
That's
kid.
cute.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was a
it's
little
cute.
fat kid, and he'd watch Gunsmoke and then The
Yeah.
Virginian and so many different ones. When the Western Channel came in the early 2000s, oh, he was happier as a pig in shit because every show he grew up on was on there, including ones that he hadn't seen in 30 years.
Oh, that's great. Well, were you an only child?
Now, I have a brother who's 9 years older, and
Okay.
my mom miscarried four times between us, and I always joke I
Uh,
am the other four kids because I'm a handful.
oh, that's cute. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had six kids, so it was a little difficult to all go out on family outings. That's
My
why we stayed at home and watched a lot of TV.
my dad was the fifth of six kids, and my aunt, she's the only girl and the oldest. She took my dad and all my uncles to see the Batman movie at the drive-in,
That's great. Oh,
1966
that's cool.
Batman. Yeah, I'm a huge Batman fan.
Are
He's
you? Yeah, I
Yeah,
just recently watched the ones with Christian Bale. I love them. I thought they were
yeah.
really good.
Those are good. Yeah. Yeah, remember in the 70s, like there would be sci-fi shows, but they wouldn't last because they weren't, accepted like they are now.
Right. I mean, I think the only thing was Lost in Space. You know what I mean?
Well, that
Remember
was the
that? I mean,
60s. Yeah. The,
yeah, the 60s. Yeah.
or all the Irwin Allen stuff, the Time Tunnel, Land of the Giants, and then in the 70s you had the Glenn Larson stuff like the $6 Million Man
Right.
and the Bionic Woman and Battlestar Galactica.
I love, yeah.
There was one with Ernest Borgnine called Future Cop. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember Future Cop.
Yeah, Ernest Borgnine. He's like a veteran cop, and he's got a new partner who ends up being a robot. It was a serious show. It wasn't a comedy or anything, and it lasted like maybe even I don't know 10 episodes or something.
Oh, okay. No, I don't remember that one. Yeah, the only like, yeah, my like I said, my brother would sit in front of the TV with his TV dinners watching Star Trek, and I just didn't like all that stuff. Never liked it. I don't even think I've seen. Maybe I've seen one Star Wars,
The original is
and I
my
probably
favorite.
would like them now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I would like them now, but I never liked them, when they came out.
yeah. No, I mean, I love the first three, but and then the prequels and the ones since, I'm just like, eh. But the originals were great. That Star Wars phenomenon was huge when it first happened. There were lines around the block with parents and kids. I mean, everyone wanted to see what the fuss was all about because there was no internet then.
Right,
You know.
right. That's true. Yeah. Well, I remember one of my favorite movies growing up too was The Incredible Mr. Limpet. I loved
Oh,
that movie with Don Knotts.
I do too. I love that one. It was so
Yeah.
funny.
Wasn't that so good? I mean, you could never redo that movie. You just couldn't.
No, I don't think anybody wants to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you watch for children's programming?
I watched was there Wonderama? Um not s- Why do I remember the Zoom song? I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think that, but
I just
what
found
did
out
I
about
watch as children's?
I just found out about Zoom in the last few years. They were having a Zoom reunion at ChillerCon, and I was like, "What's Zoom?" I know Zoom, on the internet, but like, what's Zoom? And then I found out it was a PBS show.
Yeah, I remember even the song that went with it. I remember that. I remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood a little bit, but I don't
Hmm.
think I watched that. Um,
How about the Electric Company?
oh, the Electric Company. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, I
Yeah,
used to love watching Scooby Doo. That was one of my favorite shows too.
mine too. Yeah, huge
Scooby
Scooby Doo
Doo.
fan.
Yeah, huge Scooby Doo fan.
I like the
Um,
ones when they got like crossovers. They got like the Three Stooges and Sonny and Cher and people like that.
right, right, right.
The Addams
Yeah.
Family. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. I definitely watched all those too. Adam's Family, The Munsters, all that.
Yeah, the Addams Family
Definitely watched.
cartoon was great. They had Jodie Foster as Wednesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Magic Garden?
The Magic Garden. Yeah, I do remember that. Yep.
Yeah, Carol
Hmm.
Demas. I interviewed her last year. She was wonderful, and yeah, that was a show that her and her best friend Paula Janis would do on the side whenever she didn't have a Broadway show going or something else. They would do that show, and when I look at it, I'm like, they must have done a lot of locker room talking between takes because they're so edgy and so young and so hippie-ish, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. Oh, I know. We used to watch a lot of comedy shows. Oh, Carol Burnett and
Ah,
the Sonny and Cher show. I loved Carol Burnett. It was really fun. Oh, and I used to watch Mary Tyler Moore show, all
oh.
those.
Love Mary
Yeah.
Tyler Moore show. Love
Dick
it.
Van Dyke. It's so funny. There's a guy at pickleball. His name is Rob, and I always
Hmm.
go, "Oh, Rob," because that's what Mary Tyler Moore used to call her husband, Rob. And
Yeah.
only people from my era would understand that
Yeah.
the way I say it.
I'm a,
Yeah.
I'm a huge Saturday Night Live guy.
Oh, you are? Yeah. Did you watch the 50th special?
No, I heard it was awful.
Oh, no, I didn't think it was. I thought it was pretty good,
Because
especially if you're a fan.
I'm listening to all this podcasts like David Spade and Dana Carvey have a podcast, and they're like talking about how it totally surprised them. There was too much emphasis on the newer cast. They just it felt like they were disrespecting the old cast by not doing a huge emphasis on them because they're the ones who started it.
They did have tributes to them. I
Okay.
don't know. I think you should watch it. I do. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, I think you should watch it.
I want to see the
I,
movie about the first night.
I watched the auditions too. Some of the auditions they have that are were pretty insane.
Yeah.
All these people coming on to audition. Well, how nerve-wracking would that be? We have a girl from our local high school, Santa Monica, Samuel High, that's on the new cast
Nice, nice,
of Saturday Night Live. Yeah, I didn't
nice.
know who she was, but yeah.
Yeah. I was also a big SCTV fan.
What's is SET?
SCTV, John Candy, Eugene Levy, Dave Thomas, Rick
Oh, oh,
Moranis.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Eugene Levy. It's very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to go see the band Rush live, and they had these big old screens in the back of them. And before the last intermission, they did like 35 songs, so there was all these intermissions. During the last one, they showed Eugene Levy wearing like a suit and tie and being kind of like a an Ed Sullivan type, and he brings out Rush to the audience. It was great.
Uh-huh.
It was great.
It's great. Yeah, he's funny, funny guy. Do you like that show, Schitt's Creek?
Schitt's Creek. I haven't watched Schitt's Creek.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, it's so good.
I
So
like
good.
I like the name. That's a cool name.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So getting
I know.
it.
What are some of your favorite shows now?
I don't have a ton of favorite ones now. You know, when I'm not doing my own podcast, I listen to a lot of podcasts because, you know,
You do, yeah.
it's always great to learn, and it's always great to hear what other people say and stuff. You know, um, I mean, I did like Cobra Kai, even though I think it got repetitive near the end. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. Um, Cobra Kai was good, and yeah, that's about it that I can think of. You know, um,
Hmm.
I did like the first season of Foo Bar with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I know the next one's coming soon, which I'm happy about.
Uh-huh. Did you watch his documentary?
I watched like maybe a few minutes of it, and then I got bored because it was predictable. I thought.
Oh, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
I said the same thing about Sylvester Stallone's documentary. I just was like, it's predictable. You know, it's gotten to the point now where documentaries are getting made for relevancy and not for, you know, this story needs to be told kind of a deal, you know?
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Netflix certainly does a lot of those types, you know.
Yeah, they do.
I've seen some good ones, you know, but it's mostly just you know.
Yeah, yeah.
The true
It
crime.
seems like you
Mhm.
you you like all the older shows and t and movies.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm all about the past. That's why I called the podcast "Splat from the Past" because I just love the past. You know, I always thought that all the best stuff came from there. You know.
It did. It did. I mean, imagine if we had All in the Family right now, or the
Hmm.
Jeffersons.
Yeah.
I mean, that it would never fly right now, and those are the best shows.
Well, they tried to reboot a couple Norman Lear shows on Netflix, and they didn't work out. They were just awful. They tried to do, um, what they oh One Day at a Time, and I was just like, no, the original is the best.
Right.
You know. So getting
Yeah.
it So getting into music, do you remember the first album you ever bought with your own money or was given to you?
Well, I remember I did have a Bobby Sherman album. I mean, we were big. I was also big Elvis fans. I loved Elvis Presley because probably my older sisters, we always watched all of his movies and listened to his music.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, when I had my own car in my 8-track player, I had Bad Company and
Ah,
Boston, and and then the disco era came and it was all disco.
I've seen Bad Company
It's like,
live. They're great.
are they? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Joe Walsh
I
opened for
know.
them.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, we used to-
I was an MTV kid. Like I had Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In and Phil Collins' No Jacket Required. Those were like my two earliest birthday money albums I bought. And for like Christmas
uh-huh.
time, I'd get like Warrant's Cherry Pie and Michael Jackson's Bad and
Yeah, Michael Jackson. Yeah.
Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation, stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I used to always just buy the 45, the single. I didn't want to spend the money on on a whole album.
Yeah, we occasionally we get singles too, especially my
Okay.
mother. If my mother heard an album that was, or if she heard a song that was great, she would just buy the single and not buy the whole album.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Imagine, I mean, now today, you just, if you want to get it, you just put it on Spotify,
Yeah,
it's right there for you.
or YouTube.
Or YouTube. Yeah. One of my favorite shows now is American Idol. I love
Mhm.
it. I love American Idol.
My mom's been
I just
watching.
find there's so much talent in this country. It's crazy. And you just don't know why some people make it and some people don't.
My mom's been watching that show every season for 23 years. She loves American Idol.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just gotten better and better. I mean, the talent is insane. It's so good. I mean, I like it. I don't like the voice as much. I like the beginning of the voice, the
She loves it.
auditions, but
Yeah, she loves The
hmm
Voice. That's her absolute favorite. I think it's silly
yeah.
when they're wearing those masks and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, no stars come out of the voice because,
Yeah,
they don't have time to curate them. It's like,
yeah,
they shoot more American Idols like once or twice a year and they can make their kids into stars.
yeah.
And so many stars have come out of American Idol.
So it sounds like you were really into bubblegum. Did you like the Cowsills or the DeFranco family?
Oh, I remember the DeFranco family. I forgot about them.
Yeah, I might be interviewing. I
Um,
might be interviewing Tony soon.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, the kind of bubblegummy, and then like I said, like disco,
Hmm.
Donna Summer, Michael Jackson, that kind of stuff, and black, real like soul, just R&B, loved
A-
all that.
AM radio. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I mean, go ahead.
we were a mixed, diverse, of music. I mean, we had the Beatles, Stones, Beach Boys albums. My parents had on vinyl Carole King's Tapestry, which is a
Oh
masterpiece.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Fleetwood Mac. I'm sure you have Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac's Rubers, the 1975
Hmm.
album,
Hmm.
Captain Beefheart, again with the diversity. Um, we had comedy albums like Lily Tomlin's "This Is a Recording."
Well, Bill Cosby's comedy album. We had that.
They were not huge Cosby fans. They were into edgy stuff like Pryor and Cheech and Chong.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I got into Cosby on my own and stuff. Now it's hard for me to listen because of what's happened to him and stuff.
I know, I know.
But he was a genius.
Yeah,
Chicken Heart. Oh my God! You look at the premise and go, "How's he going to pull this off?" And then he does.
yeah. And then George Carlin, when he first came out, he was
Yes,
he was so funny.
huge George
And his
Carlin fan.
humor still stands. I mean, his humor still stands.
Well, all he did was tell the truth, and
Right.
it came true in a lot of ways, especially in the last 20 years. When he did his last two HBO specials, everything he said came true.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's nuts. Do you remember your first concert?
Yes, I do. It was Van Halen was the backup band, or like the opening for Black Sabbath, and we did
Oh
not
my
go for
God!
Black Sabbath. I
Yeah.
know I was not a Black Sabbath fan, but we all love Van Halen, so I went to that, and then I can't remember which one was first because I did go see Earth, Wind, and Fire, so I can't remember if Earth, Wind, and Fire was my first or Van Halen was my first,
Well,
but I know those were my first two concerts.
I got a funny
And then
anecdote.
my first play was Godspell. I mean, another musical. Godspell was my first play,
I've talked to a
Broadway
few.
play.
I've talked to a few Godspell people. I got a funny anecdote. I went to go see Van Halen in 2012, and we're getting closer and closer to the venue, and we're like, "Is that Cool in the Gang?" It turns out it was. They opened for Van Halen, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Because I know that David Lee Roth is a big R&B fan, so I wasn't
Uh-huh.
surprised. But like, they didn't advertise that Cool in the Gang was opening. That was the weird part.
Well, that would be fun. I would love that concert.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God. Seeing Eddie get into a guitar battle with his own son who was playing bass was just wonderful.
Uh, yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that was good. I know, and then hardly anyone from Earth, Wind, and Fire is alive anymore, so it's not even the same band.
No, no. At least Philip Bailey's still with us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I saw the Monkees when I was 14.
Uh-huh.
They were playing Candlestick Park um, before a Giants game, and it was just the three of them. Michael Nesmith was not there, and they drove off the field in a Cadillac.
Oh, that's cool. Mickey Dolenz was on Pacific Blue. He was a guest on Pacific Blue.
That's right, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of old timers like Eric Estrada, and we had what's her name, Jan. Was it Eve Plum or was it Cindy? No, Cindy
Eve
Brady
Plum.
was on.
Susan Olson.
Yeah, Susan Olsen was on Pacific Blue. Yeah,
Yeah. My fir-
I can't really remember them all, but
my first real concert was Alice Cooper. I saw him. He is
oh
a
God,
showman. He is a showman, that guy. He gets killed at the end of every show. It's like vaudeville.
oh God, yeah, Alice Cooper, and he's supposed to be like the nicest guy, really smart, but he definitely had that caricature of
He is. I mean, the way you see him in Wayne's World, it's kind of like that, but exaggerated. He is smart like that.
right, right, yeah, yeah.
Do you remember your first makeout song?
Probably Dream Weaver.
Oh my God.
Probably. I don't know how that song just came into my head, so that's probably it. Dream
Another
Weaver.
another Wayne's World reference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mine was
yeah. Yeah.
Janet Jackson's Love Will Never Do Without You.
Oh,
Beautiful,
yeah, that's a good one.
beautiful,
Yeah.
steamy kind of song.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's funny. I haven't thought about those songs in a while.
Yeah. Here's a fun question. Do you remember when you first discovered your belly button?
No, not really. Was I supposed to?
Well, everybody discovers it. I mean, there's no way getting around it. It's a part of the body, you know?
Right. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
just know now it doesn't look the same as it did before because I had a double hernia, so they had to go through my belly button to take out the hernias.
oh boy.
I know. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, my nice belly button looks different. But not like I'm showing off my belly button anymore. So,
Yeah, I know I've had surgeries. I had my gallbladder taken out. It just doesn't look good anymore. I had a
right.
I had a girlfriend when I was 6. She had an adorable Audi, and she used to let me play with it and thump it and everything.
Oh, that's funny. My boyfriend now. You can't even look at his belly button. It just makes him throw up. He's like
Really?
he hates anyone touching it. Don't even go near his belly button. He can't even talk about belly buttons.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've met people that are like that.
I was like, what happened in your childhood that that you're like this with belly buttons? It's very funny.
Yeah. So what do you got going
Yeah.
on you can mention?
Well, right now, I just have been doing a lot of print campaigns. You know, just shot for Activia. Just did a campaign for Juvederm. I finished that on Friday.
Hmm.
Which is all cosmetic stuff and skincare stuff. Activia yogurt. I did a film this past summer that hasn't come out yet called Rhythm is the Dancer. Really good true story about a girl who was raised by a single mother, lesbian mother, who Amy Aquino is her mom,
Hmm.
and she finds out on like 23andMe that she knows who her sperm donor is, and the sperm donor guy was notified that he's got a daughter, and he was like, what do you mean? I mean, he just didn't know what's going on, and he realized that he donated to a sperm bank in college. And so it's just a great story, great people in it. Melanie Hutzel's in it from Saturday Night Live,
Oh,
and
love her.
Tate Donovan plays my husband,
Oh,
and I play the mom of the dad who is the sperm donor, who is Tate Donovan. So
God.
yeah, it'll be interesting when it comes out. I hope it comes out soon.
I haven't heard that name in a long time. Tate Donovan was in Space Camp. I remember watching that movie when I was a kid.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
he was also in that Elton John movie because it's funny. I was at a party down the street at my neighbor's, and he lives right up the street from me, and he was at the party and he was talking about Elton John, shooting the Elton John movie, and I said, "Oh, I have an Elton John story." I said, on the premiere of Back to the Future 2, we all went to La Dome, and Elton John was there with Ricky's manager, Michael, and Elton was like, "Oh, what can we do? It's a Monday night. Where should we go?" And I was like, "Oh, let's go to China Club." He's like, "China Club? What is that?"
Yeah.
So we all hop in a limo and we all go to China Club. And he gets on stage, he blows Michael Bolton off the stage and just starts performing. And we're all hanging out together. And I'm like, I am hanging out with Elton John.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just crazy. And then when we left the club, he put his arm around me. He's got to keep up the image, Darlene. That was before he came out as gay.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, too bad we didn't have iPhones back then. I could have like had all this documented.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know my mom met the Beatles when she was 10, and she got like an autograph from each of them, but no picture. She wishes she had gotten the picture because my uncle accidentally threw out the autograph.
Mm.
You know.
I always wonder, like, eventually what people do with those autographs. When my sister worked at a Wendy's and Johnny Whitaker came in there from Family Affair, and I
Oh
love
God,
Family Affair.
I had him on.
Yeah.
I had him on a few
Oh,
years ago.
really? Did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
strange, interesting guy.
Is he? Is
Yeah,
he? Oh, that's,
yeah.
yeah, I had his autograph. She got it for me, but I was like, I don't even know. I mean, I don't want anyone's autograph. I'm like, what am I going to do with that?
He's a child actor with a hard life. I'll tell you.
Probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, that's
Was
crazy.
that the only show he did? Was Family Affair?
He was actually pretty prolific in the 70s. He was on Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, which was a Cross Brothers show,
Oh, yeah.
and he was in a
Yeah.
slew of memorable TV movies, including that haunted house one that Steven Spielberg directed, and Ed Asner was in it. I forget the name of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he did a lot of stuff in the 70s, but then after that, after he grew up, everything was done for him.
Yeah. And then what did he do?
Well, he went down a rabbit hole of drugs. Now he's like influencing people to get out of drugs. He's become a counselor,
Oh,
and he sponsors people and stuff. Yeah, I mean, he's doing good for himself and for others at least.
you wonder, like, where do they get the money? Because they didn't get residuals back then.
No,
Where do they get the money to survive?
I have no idea. I don't know. That kind of stuff I always like stay out of. That's one thing that's one of the things I've always learned. Don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion, and don't talk about money.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I always wonder that because, those poor people back then didn't get residuals. I mean, even today, now it's going back to that where you really don't get residuals because it goes to streaming. Before
Yeah,
you would do a network show and get paid for a guest star role, which is, that's lessened as well now. And then it will repeat again. You get the same amount of money, then it repeat. It used to make money. Can't, it's so hard to make money in this business now.
it is. It is.
It's crazy.
Do you have any Back to the Future reunions coming up?
Oh shoot, right. They asked me to come to Milan for something, but I don't know if that's going to work out. I mean, I would think that, I mean, this is the Back to the Future reunion to the original Back to the Future, so I'm not included in that. But
Okay.
a lot of times when Michael and the main cast are at an event, we don't go because they
Yeah.
spend all their money on them.
Yeah.
Michael and Tom and
Cla-
Christopher and
Claudia. Claudia Wells, she goes to like every single one of them.
yes, she does. Yeah, yeah.
She's
She
awesome.
goes to every single one she goes to. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had her on here twice, and me and my mom went to meet her at her Armani store in 2019, and she is just so awesome.
Yeah.
She lets me send her the most highly offensive jokes.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, she's very nice. I've met her a couple times. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, very positive.
I'm
Yeah,
very I'm very big fans of Don Full of Love and Harry Waters. Those are my joy. I love them.
Harry,
Such
I've interviewed Harry. I haven't had Donald on. I'd love to have him on.
He is a hoot. He doesn't really like to do stuff like that. I always ask him, "Do you do this?" He goes, "Nah, no, I don't." He doesn't really do stuff like that. He'll
Yeah,
go to the shows. He'll definitely go to the shows, but he doesn't really do podcasts and interviews, things like that.
I've seen him do a couple, but he probably knew the people already, so it's
Right.
okay.
Right. Yeah.
But Harry was great.
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking to Harry, and I think he was happy that I was asking about other things that he did, not just, Back to the Future. Like he was on a series with Yakov Smirnoff called What a Country.
Yeah. Harry's so talented too. He's such a good guy.
He is, he is.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Darlene, I thank you so much for coming on today and nerding out with me. This was a lot of fun.
Great to be on the show, Tommy. Thank you.
Yes, and I can't wait till that movie comes out. I'd love to see it with you and Tate Donovan. And you have yourself a great rest of your day and be safe out there.
You too. You as well.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Take care. Okay,
Take
bye-bye.
care. Bye bye. Well, there you have it. Darlene Vogel, ain't she a sweetheart? Oh my God, I friggin' love her. Just love her energy, love her. her inquisitive thoughts. Love everything about her. She is so awesome. And I'm glad she just did a movie with Tate Donovan. Wow. Hadn't heard that name in quite a bit. You know, he's one of those guys whose names don't come up that often, sadly, but he's a talented guy and she's a talented gal. I'm sure it's great. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.